Welcome everybody to our politics show, and it's Tommy here from Radio Time Machine, but I'm on the politics show here. So I'm going to go to the BBC website because it's a really good source of information. Now, what I've saw in the last few days is mainly the Syria stuff, and you've got all these governments trying to prove that the Syrian government's actually done something to their people with these chemical things. Anyway, breaking news there, broadcaster and presenter David Jacobs, there you go. We'll go back to that one. But anyway, Syria is where we're going to concentrate in this conversation, and we're going to look at France, America, Britain, and maybe the rest of the world's kind of role in what should be happening. As if anything should be happening at all, because at the moment it appears to be that the Syrian government, which by the way the BBC is calling a regime, the Syrian government is that kind of denying that they actually gassed their own people, and they're saying it was Al Qaeda and the kind of terrorists and that sort of thing. And then you've got America saying they've got evidence. John Kerry was on saying he's got evidence of it, saying that now obviously they've done it, and they should go in, and so should our allies. France is just kind of, it's not laughing matter, but France is actually just saying we're going to go with America for some reason, and I find that very peculiar personally, because France is usually the one who avoids this sort of conflict. Maybe not years ago, but they kind of don't seem to be the kind of power that you would think is a power, a superpower or a ally power, but they are part of the allies after all. Anyway, Britain on the other hand are not going to, at the moment anyway, not going to change their mind on doing another vote based on new evidence from the United States. And then you've got Russia coming in, President Putin, and he's basically saying, look, show us your evidence, United States. If you've got evidence, and show us it, and then we'll decide if we want to go through United Nations and some sort of supranational thing. So that's kind of main players at the moment. There is Iran, and there is the Arab countries as well having talks, and there's various other countries involved as well. But the headlines say to be focusing on the USA because they want to know who is going to strike where and when and all the rest of it. And also that you've got Britain and you've got France, which are kind of allies in themselves. So it's a wonder that so far all these, well, apart from France, but the main powers like Britain and America have actually says we're going to put it to our parliaments, and obviously the Senate or the Congress is where America's putting it to. Britain says no to it so far, and we're wondering, so far the Americans don't really see evidence, some of them, and some of them do. The main ones in power see the evidence, and so it's a wonder if they're actually going to go into Syria and attack it. They're not going to put boots in the ground, Obama says. President Obama says no boots in the ground. It'll just be kind of strategic missile like hits or whatever it may be, compounds, whatever it may be. But the people in Syria, BBC's reporting that they're basically worried. They're collecting food stock and all the rest of it. There's obviously something about to move on it, but it's a wonder what that is, because nobody seems to be rushing in like they done with the Iraq War, and they done with the first Iraq War and the second Iraq War. The Americans don't seem to be rushing in like they done with Vietnam. The British don't seem to be rushing in like they done with the Falklands, and the Friends don't seem to be rushing in at all. And really what the Syrians are saying is this could be World War III. Now, I don't want to use that in such a way where you think, oh wait a minute, is this World War III? But I can tell you this, every time I hear a wee rocket, like a plane in the sky, I think it's a rocket or something, you're getting to a stage where you're starting to think, is this another standoff, another Cold War? It could actually start a Cold War rather than World War III. Yeah, because every time you hear a rocket I think, oh no, is this it begun? I don't see it beginning. I don't see the world being that stupid, the world leaders being that silly, and actually letting something like this happen. Okay, people have died and it's not good, and it's chemical weapons and they've been gassed and it's really bad, and there's mechanisms in place for that, but really and truly 1,500 people, does that justify killing 6 billion with nuclear weapons, chemical weapons and so on? Because that's where it could go if it actually did explode into something absolutely horrible. And we don't want that. We don't want world wars. We don't want a standoff with Russia and that either. The world's kind of a bit messed up, but it's not as messed up as it used to be. And we've got to remember that. And we know we've got economic crises, and we've got all the rest of it. We can cope with things like that because we have academics out there. We have people who will talk about it. We have people who will be able to maybe solve it eventually. And we seem to be playing our part, but kind of not spending as much. So everybody's working together, even if we don't like it. We're still working together. War, we don't need it. We definitely don't need war. So the question here is the USA, United States of America, going to strike Syria? That is a question. Now, I don't know the answer to that because they've actually said they're going to go to Congress. So if they go to Congress, Congress has got the answer. But let's look at the possibilities which could happen if Syria was to get hit with a US missile or whatever it may be, or an attack. And let's look at where Britain's role is. Let's look at where France, well, we kind of know where France is going to go. They're going feet first with this one. And we can look at these other people as well, like Russia, China, Iran, where they stand. At the moment it seems to be, see if we use the kind of vague terminology of 50-50 split, there's definitely some sort of 50-50 type split. Might not be totally equal, but it's certainly a 50-50 type split down the middle somewhere of the world, east and west. That seems to be predominant in the whole conversation. And the West is trying to infiltrate the East through Iraq and through different other things, but it's certainly not getting to the bigger countries where there's power, money and so on, like Russia. You get basically two kind of superpowers in some sort of league anyway of superpower in Russia and China. And if they two join up together for any means, then that's trouble for America, who is a superpower in themselves. And Britain's meant to be some sort of fifth powerful, richest country, whatever it may be. But certainly, it's worth a watching that. So let's look at the roles. Right, I'm just going to type this to Jamie here. Right, so the roles we have. There we go. Right, the roles we have is Britain. Britain may actually go with America, and I think it's a possibility it might happen, but at the moment it's not happening because the law has said it won't happen because the Parliament said no. So then we get America, who hasn't decided yet, but basically there's a good possibility they're going to have some sort of military action. So assuming Britain and America join up, then you've got France as well. You get three countries there with quite powerful arsenals, really, kind of like war arsenals and stuff, military arsenals. They will attack Syria in some way or another, and they'll position their ship strategically, and they'll just try and do it strategically without taking casualties because it doesn't sit with the voter. Now, you look at China, who's got a billion people in it or something. You get China, you've got Russia, big place. You probably also get the Baltic states. Nobody knows where they sit, even though they're part of Europe, which used to be an old part of Russia. Remember that? It's all Soviet Union before Glasnost and Perestroika, for the kind of Mikhail Gorbachev days, where Yeltsin kind of stepped in and kind of moved towards, took the country further towards that more democratic and capitalistic route. When you had Gorbachev, who was the first to make deals with the West, or go and see like Reagan and things like that. President Reagan, ex-president of the United States, he dealt with Margaret Thatcher, an ex-prime minister of the United Kingdom who died recently. So you had that movement in Russia. So it has become a capitalistic way, and that's hence the Baltic states were created for that, because bits of territory was given up and so on. But nobody knows how loyal they are to Russia. Nobody knows if they would actually join with Russia or join with Europe, even though they're part of the European Union. So there is, that was meant to be, that was a good, the Baltic states were good because they actually gave that cross cleavage between communism, capitalism and East and West. It gives that kind of commonality where, you get a kind of ex-communist type bits of land under kind of more Western type democratic systems. So that could be something to watch, and especially when the countries are close to Syria and Iran and Jordan and all these places. They're quite close to them all, so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how that partakes, because that could mean almost like the gap between where the war is, where it starts in the West, where it ends in the West. You get the Baltic states, where it basically starts or ends in the East, and then you've got Russia and China and all that. So it could be the thing that separates the two. It's going to be interesting that, but I think overall the thing is, what the United Nations do? What are they going to do about this? Because America's going without United Nations backing. They just got to go in. They say if they get the go ahead of Congress, America will probably join them. And and you can just see right now the breaking news: Syria is actually preparing its forces. So and also the US is preparing its forces too. And you've got France saying determined to punish Syria. I don't know about jihadists. That must be some terrorist group. Can't pronounce that. Prepare for US attack. And you've got various other things happening. So it's just a kind of mess right now. So let's look at Iran. Iran would probably look at joining up, with any excuse, I suppose, joining up with China and maybe even Russia, to back up Syria. So you have these Western countries and you have the Eastern countries, both at a stalemate, but for how long? And I think that's what it comes down to there. And we'll know in the next wee bit what's going to happen with that. I'm just going to click on the BBC News and just look at the evidence if there's any. It says Syrian regime was behind massive chemical attack. So, right, and now they've got, let's see, Syrian opposition forces say they're not convinced the US will launch an attack against President Assad. Now, if this guy gets away with this, if he has done it, that is, I mean, they're saying he has done it, but nobody knows yet properly. There's waviness of evidence, but if this guy has done it, that means he's got away with gassing his own people and killing his own people. It's pretty destructive, that, and pretty abusive of power. The old Thomas Hobbes thing comes in there, where if you put your man in power, your woman in power, or a queen or a king, whatever it may be, in power, and you here got a good leader or a bad leader, and that's a chance you take. And it appears that this guy at the moment is getting labelled and tarred a bad leader because he's killed all his people, and nobody knows what the thinking is behind that. Is he a psychopath or is he innocent? Nobody really knows, and this is where we are at this kind of unsaid thing. So who knows what's going to happen with that. Right, we're just looking, it was sarin that was used, so I think that's obviously a toxic chemical, that. And yeah, it goes on and on. It basically saying Senator John McCain, a long time advocate of arming the Syrian rebels, has said he believed it would take time to convince the American public of a need to intervene. So there's John McCain, an ex-presidential candidate, twice actually he's presidential candidate, kind of saying it's going to take a while to actually kind of convince the American people. And there we have another wee bit saying he's warned that it would be catastrophic if Congress were to go against President Obama and vote against intervention. So that's interesting how McCain, an opposition person of Obama, is actually said to be catastrophic. He's probably political points here, I think, in the American system, looking to get Obama a few knocks. Okay, and then we've got the NATO Secretary General Andreas Foer said on Monday he was personally convinced that a chemical attack took place and that the Assad government was responsible. So there's different high profile people saying yeah, it was them, and there's a picture of a cafe there as well, just kind of totally gutted, where obviously it's been up with why these bomb things. And let's look at the forces that could be used against Syria. They'll talk about cruise missiles, and where that would position from is basically like you've got airplanes, and I think you've actually got the ships as well, these kind of aircraft carriers. So the idea behind it would be that they're already positioning themselves in just below Turkey, beside Syria and just above Egypt. Remember, Egypt has its problems as well recently, and between that you've only got Jordan. Jordan's separating Syria and Egypt really, to a certain degree. So, and even at that, you've got the Gaza Strip right up the side of there as well. So you have a region there at really, really high tension, and you have Iraq right next to Syria and Jordan and Iran. That's like a Y-shaped type thing, or a triangle if you like. So that's like really bad. So what you've got the US coming in. They've got based in Turkey, they're based in Jordan with their airplanes. The ships are coming right up the Mediterranean and also out of the Gulf. So they've got the USS Nimzat there as well. So there are certain air bases as well. There's the United Arab Emirates, they've got an air base there as well. So Syria's kind of getting surrounded. Apart from their only escape route could be into Iran, and there's also Turkey there. But Iraq's between them and Iran if they were to try that, and so is Turkey. So that's interesting. So who knows what's going to happen there. If there's obviously refugees, 6 and a bit million so far that have moved across the border into the kind of neighbouring countries, and that's just for safety, for their own safety. Other kind of things they're going to use the US, but it looks like if they do go against Syria, is they're going to use the aircraft carriers, which seems to be one at the moment, but there's several battleships by the looks of it, in the Mediterranean. So there's one aircraft carrier, two aircraft carriers. The Harry S. Truman is in the Gulf as well, so that's interesting. And not far from the Red Sea there, which is even more interesting. So you have the kind of idea there, the picture that the Americans are positioning themselves. So they've almost got chess pieces, moving piece by piece until they actually get a checkmate, and that's their idea. Whereas the Syrians will have different ideas. They'll probably defend themselves by the looks of it. And I can see the French Rafale and Migrate aircraft is also operational, and that's from the United Arab Emirates as well. So there's several ships from different countries there, all surrounding Syria, positioning themselves, and it's just now just waiting for the Americans to say yes or no in that Congress. And if they say yes, then where will it go? I think we're going to tune in another day for that one, because I think that's a conversation that we can't predict yet. And I talked about it before in the last Syrian thing about World War III. We don't really want to go there, because that is a awful thought. If that was to happen, that'd be really, really bad for everybody. So yeah, give us your thoughts in the chat, and also put something if you want on the website. There's Radio Time Machine website if you want to go to that. I maybe create a politics thing on there, yeah. And check out the People's Book as well, which we've got the website for the politics station. People's Book starting to get updated and written as we speak. So it's getting done, a wee bit's getting done every day, so it's still a website in motion, but it's getting there. So check out as well, www.thepeoplesbook.co.uk. Thanks very much for listening to me. I've been Tommy, and this has been the Politics Show, and thank